Hello there, grief growers, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm taking a break from full-length podcasting at the moment and gearing up for Season 6 of Coming Back, which premieres next week on May 1st, 2019. But in the meantime, I wanted to bring you some never-before-heard clips from Season 5 interviews. If you're a longtime listener of the show, you know that these mini in-between seasons episodes are tidbits, stories, and behind-the-scenes clips from conversations we had this past season on Coming Back, and I am so excited to share them with you. On this last In the Meantime episode before Season 6 begins, I'm sharing an off-the-mic conversation I had with Emily Ruth. While scouting around at her desk for her list of favorite Coming Back resources and Instagrammers, I told her to take her time and reminded her that a pre-recorded podcast is a very, very, very forgiving medium. You can sneeze, take a sip of water, have a siren go by during our interview, and I can edit it out when I go into post-production. And in that in-between space of our conversation, the recording was still running, and Emily Ruth took a chance to ask me how I conduct my interviews on Coming Back. And the answer might surprise you.
You know, I just have to say, since you're being so cool about this, I have thought as listening through your podcasts, and I've been a listener, by the way. I haven't just listened to a couple, like I've been a listener. And I'm always so impressed with how intuitive you are. You're telling me now that these are questions that just are coming to you, but I can tell it's because you're so in tune with who you're interviewing and I got that sense even listening before. So anyway, you are so good at this. I just love that you're called to do it because it's such a gift.
Thank you. It makes me cry sometimes. Like emotion literally comes out of my eyeballs because I write things down and I was like, okay, when I first started this, I was like, I have to research people. I have to find out all the books they've written and the courses they do. And I have to be armed with all this information. And as I've relaxed into the medium and into the process, I'm like people's lost stories and kind of the journeys they go on. There's like a core thread that runs through, and a lot of the questions we face are the same, or can be. I don't want to put everybody's grief experiences into the same box, but there's these bigger questions that are overarching and they're specific to your experience, but somebody else is going to resonate with that too. And of course, I live within the frame of my own life too. Like I've lived a life where for a lot of the time, I don't feel like my body has belonged to me for whatever reason. And I'm also surrounded by people, especially women, who feel like their bodies don't belong to them. So I wrote that question down and I was like, do I have the right to ask this? This is an audacious question. And for the most part, the universe is just like, just say it. Like the worst that could happen is somebody says, no, I can't answer that question, or I don't have the answer for you, or like, that's too far for me. And I'm like, all right. And truthfully, it's never happened, but it's something I can't explain. It just comes. It's freaky. And like, I don't really research people anymore, which is like a no-no in the podcast world. Like to show yourself as a good speaker or interviewer is to be like the most armed with information. And now I just kind of show up and I'm like, this is weird because I'm the straight A student who always did her homework. Like it's a crisis of identity sometimes. But this feels so much better. And I think in a lot of ways, we really get to the heart of it. Like, I don't really ask logistical questions anymore. Like, how did you, or can you tell us tips and tricks for blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I will, but they're hard questions. That's all I can say about them. And we laugh about it a lot on the show. You know, there's a lot of laughter on this show.
Yes, I love that.
So thank you for saying that. That's really kind.
Yes, and it's true. I don't say things I don't mean, just so you know.
I believe that.
I hope you enjoyed this really exclusive In the Meantime episode of Coming Back. If you'd like to listen to my full conversation with Emily Ruth, check out episode 74 of Coming Back called Like Being on a Crashing Plane with Emily Ruth. If you're not already, I would also highly recommend following Emily Ruth on Instagram at @EmilyRuth_. Also, in the meantime, grief growers, this is your last chance to enter my grief book giveaway. I am sending one lucky winner a copy of Now You See the Sky from Catherine H. Murray and Becoming Starlight by Dr. Sharon Prentice, both podcast guests this past season in season 5. In addition, you'll receive some neat podcast swag, including stickers from the show and a handwritten note from my desk. All you have to do to enter is head over to shelbyforsythia.com, click the banner at the top of the page, and type in your email address once you've reached the giveaway page. You can also find the link to enter my grief book giveaway in the show notes for this episode. Please note that the giveaway closes April 30th at midnight, so take a few seconds right now to pause the show, click the giveaway link in the show notes, and enter the grief book giveaway. Also, grief growers, if you would like access to behind-the-scenes posts from me, including notes on my personal grief story, photos and videos of grief tips I've learned, and recordings from live workshops I've done, please consider supporting Coming Back on Patreon. Patreon is a marvelous platform that lets ordinary people support the artists they love by pledging $1 a month or more to support their work. It's a beautiful way to join my inner circle and say, yes, I want to see this podcast and these messages on coming back from grief and loss continue. I am so grateful to my Patreon supporters because they literally keep the lights on so that this podcast can remain free and ad-free to grievers who really, really need to hear it. Plus, my Patreon supporters get to spend special time with me off the mic and get a first look at what I'm cooking up next. Pledge now at patreon.com/shelbyforsythia or find that same link in the show notes for this episode. I can't tell you how much I appreciate every single one of you that supports the show on Patreon and beyond. That's where you can find me in the meantime. Season 6 of Coming Back returns May 1st, 2019. So that's all for this episode of Coming Back in the meantime. While I'm away from the mic, you can find updates on me, this show, and my travels on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and some extra behind-the-scenes stuff, including my monthly Ask Me Anything hangouts, always on Patreon. I am still taking grief coaching clients during my time away. Please head to shelbyforsythia.com/grief-coaching for more information and to fill out an interest form. If you'd like to leave a question, comment, or guest suggestion for a future episode, email me at shelby@shelbyforsythia.com. As always, my marvelous grief growers, it was beautiful sharing this space and time with you today. I see you, I am proud of you and the work that you're doing in the world, and I love you. Because even through grief, we are growing. See you next week.